What if I told you there was a technology that's helping people with cancer, heart issues, brain functions, diabetes, strokes, even recovery of COVID, injuries, and dozens of other diseases? Stay tuned. Today we're going to introduce this life-changing technology to you. How do I bring my faith to work? How do I tap into the power of God in my work-life call? Why am I going through this adversity? Is God mad at me? I'm Oz Hillman, and I've been helping leaders like you answer these questions and more for over 30 years. That's what this podcast is all about. Let's learn and grow together. Welcome to TGIF, Today God is First. Well, welcome to our TGI for Work podcast. I'm delighted to have Bill Schindler with us today, and he has a medical company that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about his story, and I was first introduced to this by my wife Pamela. I had no idea what this product did, but it's a revolutionary product. And for those of you who have health issues, you in particular might find this interview of interest. So, Bill, welcome to our TGIF at Work podcast. Tell us a little bit about your faith journey. You're a marketplace kingdom guy. You're actually serving on the board of my wife's Pamela's ministry, Life Changers Legacy, and we're glad to have you on that team. But you introduced, I don't know how you and Pamela actually met.
How did we meet? Sometimes, your passages are, she actually came here to come and find out about Hyperbarics.
Okay.
And then when she found out what my journey was like, and what we did here, and she saw the families that were being served here, she just was very moved. Mm-hmm. And then I got to know her story a little bit and what she was doing, and it was like, God puts people in people's lives for different reasons. At the time, we usually don't know what the reason is. And that's kind of how I got involved in Hyperbarics, by the way, too.
Yeah. So what we're talking about is something called Hyperbarics. And it's just a big word, but we're going to learn about that. And so give us your story.
Yeah, everybody's got a different story in their lives, and that's what's interesting about life. It's just to get to know other people's stories, because their stories can also affect you and your life. So about 21 years ago, I was introduced to a hyperbaric chamber here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm from Los Angeles. And I came out just on a vacation to see a friend of mine. And then I saw this hyperbaric chamber, the very beginnings of it. And after my 4-day visit with him, he had said to me, if there's anybody in this country that can make this happen, it's you. And I was at a point in my life, we all have different times in our life. There's a turning point somewhere. There's another path. We don't even realize it. At least I didn't realize it. And then as time went on, I did realize that it was a calling, by all means. And what had happened was we started the very first clinic in the United States 21 years ago out of Cumming, Georgia, and didn't know what we were doing. It was like, I don't know, maybe what the disciples might have thought about when they got on a boat and said, where are we going? And Peter looks across the water and says, you want me to walk across water in a storm? Well, that's kind of where it was at. And so we started this first clinic, and it wasn't until as time went on that I just knew I was drawn to make a difference in the world. And I was drawn about not understanding what I was doing. Mm-hmm. So it was like a leap of faith. Left my family in Los Angeles, came out here, and we have a big family in Los Angeles, and started this clinic. My wife came out about 4 years later, and I went on a retreat. It was called Christ Renews His Parish, which is something like different faiths have different journeys and stuff there. It was a men's retreat. And that was the beginning of really understanding my faith a little bit more, and with a group of men, and then exploring that. And it wasn't until probably a couple years into this that I realized you had a plan, and I didn't know it, okay? And I'm very blessed and very honored. We've treated over 50,000 families here at our clinic. My expertise is in neurological disorders, brain injuries, Parkinson's, dementia, stroke, autism, and sports medicine. But we also do a lot of work with cancers and autoimmune disorders, etc. So as I said, what I didn't understand then is that it was a calling. And now I understand that's what it was. It was a calling. I just listened to it and didn't realize that's where the journey was.
So let's help our listeners and viewers understand what is hyperbarics and how long has it been around?
Yeah, that's a great question, because remember I said I started the first clinic in the country, and so we didn't know a lot about what was going on. But you start educating yourself and getting more and more involved, and then it's like, oh my gosh, why did we not know about this? What was holding this information up? Because in one of my textbooks on my desk here, it's about 1,800 pages. I'm not the sharpest side for the drawer, so when I was reading books and educating myself, etc., I went to the table of contents and it said it was broken down to 3 sections. What is hyperbaric medicine? And then it said clinical applications, and then how we got this information. The very first chapter said, when did hyperbaric start? What's the history of hyperbaric medicine? And that blew me away. It's because it goes back to 4,500 BC.
Oh my gosh.
And it took us on a journey all throughout time and history about oxygen and pressure. And then it was back in the 1930s where we started using it in the medical world for different conditions that people may be a little familiar with. People like to have the bends or burn victims or carbon monoxide poisoning, etc. But there was only 13 conditions that they would treat. And because of that the rest of our society never had access to it.
And so what does it do?
So the key was, because none of us knew what it does because we didn't have access to it. And that's where the medical world changed completely. Because now we have access to hyperbarics in the convenience of a home or convenience in a clinic or what have you. So the foundation of hyperbaric medicine is based very simply like this here. We're breathing about 21% oxygen right now in the Earth's atmosphere. Inside the chamber, we're breathing about 95%, about 4 times the amount of oxygen. We take the air that's in this room, and it goes through a compressor. That compressor has a HEPA filter on it. It cleans the air out, so the air that goes into that chamber is clean as it would be if I was doing surgery in a surgical room. Then we use an oxygen concentrator that separates oxygen from nitrogen and other gases. And so what happens is that mask that we're wearing is bringing the oxygen concentration up to between 91 and 95%. But it's not about the oxygen that's so critical, it's about the pressure. So there's a law in physics called Henry's Law. And there's actually some other laws in physics, but Henry is the biggest one. And Henry said this: if I take any gas and put that gas under pressure, that gas will dissolve in liquid. So the gas is oxygen. The pressure is the chamber. We lower you 11 feet below sea level. And because of that pressure, the gas of oxygen will now dissolve into the liquids of our body, which is our blood. So hyperbaric medicine is the only medicine in the world that can affect every single cell in your body at one time, from head to toe. There's no prejudice. It doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care if you're one of my athletes. It doesn't care if you've got cancer. It doesn't care if you've got a traumatic brain injury or anything else. Its job is to saturate the red blood cells, let that oxygen dissolve in plasma, affect what's happening with the white blood cells, and cross the blood-brain barrier. So in a simple analogy, because I like to try to keep things where everybody can understand, because we get too complicated and it doesn't make sense. So in this little illustration here, we've got 3 red blood cells, okay? This red blood cell right here has 5 little dots in it. Life is good. It's a happy cell. There's no problem. But the cell above it, it only has 3 dots in it. That cell has been compromised oxygen because I either have a disease, some kind of condition, or some type of injury or insult. What happens in the chamber is this bottom cell down here. It allows the red blood cells to absorb more oxygen. So right now, if I measured your oxygen levels right now, they're about 96, 97%. And that's just to survive in this world, okay? But now what I'm going to be able to do is I'm going to be able to saturate that cell 100%. It may not sound like a big deal, but we're talking about every cell in your body, from head to toe. There's trillions of cells there. Once the cell is full, it can't hold any more oxygen. And now what happens is where the miracle occurs. Now that oxygen dissolves into your plasma, the liquid part of your blood. So that allows me now to bring blood flow and oxygen to all the tissues, all the organs, all the glands, and all the bone density in the human body at one time.
So simplifying this, when someone has a disease, are their cells being compromised because they're not getting oxygen
Absolutely.
into the cell?
Yeah, the common denominator of all diseases and all conditions and all injuries is inflammation. So we decrease inflammation, hyper, and increase blood flow. But now it's not only increasing the blood flow, it's increasing the body's ability for the oxygen to dissolve in that plasma, your blood flow, to carry throughout the whole body, from head to toe.
So people come in, they get in this unit, if you will, and it looks like a little submarine.
Yeah.
And how long do they need to be in it to affect change?
Well, that's a good question. You're affecting change as soon as you get in the chamber. Typical treatments are 30 minutes to an hour. I would say that normal treatment's about an hour, and people just go in and take a nap or watch TV or read a book or what have you. It's very, very relaxing, especially when our body is now in a completely relaxed state and we're saturating that body with oxygen. Because the key to that there is it's going everywhere in the body. It's kind of like if I have coffee and I spill it on my desk, the coffee is going to go everywhere. Well, that's what's happening in the chamber. It's bringing that blood flow everywhere. You could take all your red blood cells out of your body right now, and you would die. If I took all the red blood cells out of the body right now and put you in that chamber, you would live, because we can carry more oxygen in plasma than we can in a red blood cell. Okay.
Are you aware of some case studies of people, overcoming conditions because of using hyperbarics?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we don't like to, make claims, so to speak, but there's thousands upon thousands of articles and studies that are out there. You can go to Dr. Ratanzi's website, which is hyperbaricexperts.com. There's tons of studies on there. You can go to our website and what have you. But, our typical patients range from people that have migraine headaches, cluster headaches. They've got asthma and allergies, skin disorders, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, arthritis is huge because we're able to decrease the inflammation. None of these are life-threatening, but they're kind of conditions that our bodies challenge that. We start adding them all up, and we have a challenged life. The second group are people like traumatic brain injuries, autism, strokes, Parkinson's, dementia. You've got pre- and post-surgical patients.
How does it help Parkinson's?
Well, that's the neurological part, and I haven't got to that part yet, but
Okay.
we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Your pre- and post-surgery MS patients, the number one treatment for multiple sclerosis all throughout Europe is hyperbaric medicine. And then diabetics, cancer. Cancer cannot survive in an oxygenated environment. And then the last group is the athletes. They use it for performance enhancement, endurance, energy, and stamina, and to recover from their workouts and their injuries.
Sometimes we hear about treatments that the medical industry will not endorse.
Right.
But this is not necessarily the case here, because even the Mayo Clinic has endorsed this technology.
Well, it's interesting what you say there, is because it goes back to that hospital part, okay? To me, it's criminal. I don't have any other way to say it. It's criminal. If you only treat 14 conditions in your hospital in a hyperbaric chamber, what you've done is that you've prevented literally thousands of other types of people with different diseases and conditions to have access to it. So, and it all comes, we just have to follow the money, all right? So the hospitals say, well, we're doing a burn victim. We'll do carbon monoxide and divers and stuff. But if dad has a stroke, sorry, he's not on the list. It's off-label use. And today in America, for example, every 37 seconds, somebody's having a stroke or a heart attack. So if they started treating hyperbarics with strokes and heart attacks in the hospital, it would bankrupt the insurance company. Same thing with Parkinson's and dementias and Alzheimer's, etc. So it's really about the money. And then when we talk about the brain, what hyperbarics does, it's unbelievable. Because around the brain, there's a barrier called the blood-brain barrier. And because of that fluid that surrounds the brain, we're able to cross the blood-brain barrier and deliver oxygen and blood flow to parts of the brain that we couldn't get there before. So let's say that we've got somebody that's had a stroke, which was caused from a lack of oxygen to the brain. It's not rocket science if I got oxygen back to the brain. Something's going to happen. There has to be a response. And same thing with my neurological patients from Parkinson's all the way down the line. So we've got neurons that are out there that are just functioning maybe at 30 or 40 or 50%. So all of a sudden I bring blood flow to one of those neurons and it wakes it up and it connects with the other ones. Now we have a new pathway that I didn't have before. So maybe it's the tremors with somebody with Parkinson's and all of a sudden we're not tremoring as much. Or a stroke patient walks out of a wheelchair because the pathway was because of what was holding him back, or memory or what have you. So, the only thing I can tell you is I can't tell you exactly what the new pathways are going to be. And every time that we go in the chamber, we're opening up new pathways in the brain. That's why neurologically speaking, the chamber is a huge thing for our patients when it comes to that, yeah.
Have you seen an impact on people that might have dementia?
Absolutely,
or
absolutely.
Alzheimer's?
Matter of fact, just excuse me 1 second here. Let me grab this would be helpful for me. I probably should have had it over here earlier. Actually, if you look, just as an example, cerebral palsy, addictions and recovery, Lyme disease, Alzheimer's and dementia, anti-aging, plastic surgery, inflammation, cancer, diabetics, sports, stem cells, COVID, TBIs, neurological, autism, and sports. Each one of these cards in here has clinical studies and information that's inside those cards. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's really nothing on the planet except for stem cells that's probably better than hyperbarics, and that's questionable because hyperbaric medicine stimulates stem cell activity. And the real issue is because we're affecting everything in the body at once. The white blood cells are enabling the body ability to detoxify. The mitochondria, which is the engine of the cell, is fueled by oxygen. More oxygen for the engine, more energy, okay? All your cancers and stuff can't survive in oxygen. And this is happening all at once. Chamber doesn't know who you are. Its job is to affect the red and white blood cells. And if we can do that, we have a better opportunity to conquer diseases and conditions and injuries or so.
So we're sitting in his office here, and he's got several hyperbaric chambers here. And as you go through his offices, there are many testimonies on the walls of professional athletes. I noticed one from an Atlanta Braves baseball pitcher.
Oh, John.
Yeah. That was John.
John Smoltz.
John Smoltz.
Yeah.
And I think he had a shoulder injury, and he used hyperbarics to help him in recovery. Is that
Absolutely.
right?
He had actually 3 chambers, and he didn't go anywhere without his chambers. I have 450 chambers in the National Football League as we speak.
Oh, wow.
We work with Major League Baseball, the NFL, hockey, the Olympic athletes that are going on right now, to Sylvester Stallone, to Usher, and that's all nice and stuff there. The people that we work with in the sports world, I don't really, really care that much about it. It's just, my part was to try to help them when they retire, that their bodies were intact. But the real people that we work with is my Parkinson patients, my stroke patients, etc. The athletes give us the opportunity to, people like to see that and they listen, then all of a sudden they want to hear more.
Yeah, well, it can give credibility.
Credibility, absolutely.
You need the credibility if it's a technology people don't know about, and how it can really help you. So, it's my wife comes every week, and I've been trying to come every week. How about with what we've been going through with COVID? How's it affecting helping
COVID's
people?
It's a huge deal.
Overcome COVID, because COVID seems to have different effects on different people, and sometimes lasting effects, especially when it comes to oxygen, where people are depleted from their oxygen and have difficulty breathing and so forth. How does it help them?
Yeah, going back to we even have a card now that we never had before, because just so that people had a better understanding of what happens with COVID, but especially people whose immune systems have been compromised, with their breathing and stuff there, even with this card here. So when you're looking at things that a lot of the symptoms that they have to deal with, okay, which is their breathing, their immune system, etc., strengthening that. Matter of fact, when COVID had hit, we knew that I couldn't shut the clinic down. It was actually more important that we had the clinic running. Yeah. So if people did get COVID or so, the recovery afterwards, a lot of people are finding out they're having memory brain fog, and they're having memory issues and other issues that are going on. So again, working with that. Matter of fact, the oxygen concentrators that we used with the hyperbaric chambers, you can't get right now. We have back orders of oxygen concentrators back to last February because they're all being shipped across the world. The concentrators are. So yeah, it's a huge benefit for the people who have had COVID, or to try to help prevent, what happens with it. We're talking about how our body utilizes oxygen. It's interesting, Oz, we breathe about 10, 15, 20 times in 1 minute. And we call that oxygen to survive in our world today, right? Just to survive. None of us think about it. We just do that, right? Inside the chamber, it is no longer oxygen. It's a dosage of medicine. So every breath that we take, we just took a dosage of medicine. So in an hour, you've taken 700 dosages pumped by your heart throughout the whole human body. If you go back to biblical times, when the oxygen concentration was at 35%. Today, we're at 21%. Before the floods of Noah, there was a canopy of pressure that surrounded the earth. That pressure is almost like what we are in a hyperbaric chamber, a higher pressure with more oxygen. So no wonder why people live to be 200 and 300 years and 900 years old. Or the dinosaurs were huge. They weren't small, they were huge. But yet the fossils show that the lungs were very small. So we've done a lot of, over centuries and centuries of time to our own environment and stuff there. So yeah, it's the most critical element of the human body. You can go without food for a while, go without water for a while, but I cut off your oxygen supply, and we've got a serious challenge. In a few minutes, you're brain dead. The greatest things that we see, the blessings that we see out of this clinic, is that we get to watch God's miracles every day. Not one or two, every day. Yeah.
Well, you're truly, your business is your ministry here, and I know from firsthand how you minister to so many people, and even those that have difficulty paying for the service, and just it's a real kingdom business. And so we're going to take a walk through the clinic and show you what a hyperbarics looks like, and there are different versions of it, and each one has a different feature about it that you're going to tell us about.
Yeah, this is a hard shell chamber that allows us to go to deeper pressures. In a portable chamber, we can go to 1.3 atmospheres. It's the most that the FDA has allowed us in a portable chamber. This is more like in a hospital-grade chamber where we can go to deeper pressures. This chamber can actually go to 3 atmospheres. The most that we ever go is about 2.2, which is about 40 feet or so. But we use this for different reasons at different times. Okay. So this is it's called a baby blue. It's very big inside, lots of room inside and stuff there.
You can have more than one person in there.
Oh yeah, matter of fact, even in our portable chambers, you can put 2 full-grown adults in them. Yeah. So as we come over here, this chamber here is called the Viteris 320, and there's somebody in here right now, and I'm about 6'2", about 295 pounds. I can fit in here with you, Oz, believe it or not. Okay, it's actually a lot more roomier than it is. Sometimes people, the 2 issues that they have is their ears, and people feeling claustrophobic. Claustrophobic has nothing to do with space. It's about control. So this person that's in here, this valve right here, they can open it up from the inside. They can let the air out, and they can actually get out of the chamber by themselves. So they don't need us, but we're here to help them with that there. But this is when it's fully inflated. You can sit up in it. There's lots of room. The oxygen concentrator, he's got a mask on over here. You can probably see it. As a matter of fact, if you probably come over here, and we can get the camera to go inside there, you can actually even probably see him inside that chamber.
You can actually do your computer work in there and just phone work, anything you still need.
Yeah, matter of fact, what happens, we have architects that come in here, they sit up and do all their drawings and stuff. It's kind of, our autistic children go in the chamber with their parents, and we do a lot of therapies inside the chamber and stuff there, speech therapy, cranial therapy, etc. But it's a lot more roomier than what it appears to be.
Yeah, awesome. So you've got 3 units in this room.
Yeah.
There's one right here.
Yeah, they all do the same thing. This one here, just someday it can go to higher pressure, but it has an extra jacket on the outside. It's called the Quanvis 320, and it's a little bit bigger, but not much bigger than what these. They do exactly the same thing. Yeah.
So if you look on his wall, he's got several people that are customers that come in and do it. Some, I think you said that many athletes actually have hyper chambers in their houses.
I've got a 450 just myself, and then in every sport that that's all golfing back there, and football's over here, and but the real stuff here is this, like this wall right here. When you're looking at somebody like Natasha, who this part of her brain was missing, she has seizures every day. They last for 20 to 25 minutes. She has no circulation in her lower extremities. She's blind and deaf, and the doctor said there's nothing you can do with her. We got her to the clinic. After one treatment, she had a 2-minute seizure, which was the shortest seizure she'd ever had. At that moment, the first month, she took her first 8 steps in life. We reduced the seizures from over 781 minutes to less than 100 minutes. We know she's not blind or deaf because we put Dora the Explorer on a DVD player and she would reach out to it. She'd hear my voice, she'd turn her head. So do we have a chance with Natasha? Absolutely. This woman here had a traumatic brain injury and a domestic abuse relationship. And then this gentleman also took the life of his 4-year-old son before he took his own life. And when we got Miss Sandra, this is what she looked like at that point. And as time was going on, she was literally coming back to life. It's a sad but good story, But every one of these kind of families on here, they're from children with autism to strokes to Parkinson's to what have you. When you look over here, these are our families of our month that we switch out every month, different ones. For example, this lady here has polio, and she comes to the clinic twice a week. This chamber's been a huge deal because of her wrist, keeping the strength enough to use her crutches. This is Pam, she was in a coma for 3 months, couldn't walk, couldn't talk, and she came to the clinic in a wheelchair. And today she hangs out at the American Legion and has a beer with the other military guys, and she dances with them. This is an autistic child, a stroke patient, multiple sclerosis, autism, Lyme disease. This guy had a little bit of everything. Another polio patient, autism, and this little baby's got a traumatic brain injury. And like I said, we switch these families out each month. We treat so many different types of families and conditions here. Yeah.
Awesome. I just want to go back here to some of the other sports areas as well, because there's what's the value for the sports or the athletes?
For numerous reasons. For performance enhancement, and for endurance, energy, and stamina, and to recover from their injuries and work out. One of the biggest ones, when Terrell Owens had broken his leg, we were able to get him healed with some other treatments in about 6 weeks so we could play in the Super Bowl. From John Smoltz to Heinz Ward on the cover of Sports Illustrated to Mario Lemieux, who was probably one of the greatest hockey players ever to play the game, to our race car drivers that race, to Jordan Spieth, who is right now one of the top golfers in the world, to Usher and Brett Favre, who credits the chamber that it was a big help for him in his career. So they all use the chamber for performance enhancement, endurance, energy, and stamina, recover from their injuries, which they all have. Wow. Everything from the basketball world to this is my little golf area. I've had the privilege to work at the U.S. Open for numerous years and help families with in their areas and stuff there at the U.S. Open.
Awesome. I never noticed that one there.
Yeah, we're just testing. It's a smaller size chamber. Yeah. If you come out here in the foyer area, you'll see. Really what it's all about. At the end of the day, it's about this. This is one of our family month right now. It's a military. We treat all the military, all the police departments, and all fire departments at no cost to the families. About 75% of the families that come to this clinic don't pay anything because they don't have any funds. And so I don't own the clinic here. God does, and I'm just the vessel that's in between. Okay.
Awesome.
And these are just some of the type of families that we treat. from our children to our stroke patients to what have you. Like I said, nobody can give you an amount of money to give somebody their life back in whatever capacity it is. So
That's
these are
awesome.
just some more of our families and some more of the sports stuff and other things that are here. But this is the most important part, because when you come to our clinic, you do have to trust in the Lord, because that's where it all starts with. This is a safe harbor. You know, people come in here with pain and suffering, not only physically, but emotionally and even spiritually. Like, why does this happen to my husband? Why does he have cancer, or what have you? So this is it's not the only answer by all means, but it's a major tool for us in the medical community. If you were to name the top 15 or 20 medical treatments of mankind, hyperbaric medicine would be there. The problem is it wasn't accessible. And to me, that's where the challenges are.
What's the website people can look
You
at?
can go to our website. It's www. It's Hyperbaric, 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 and the letters PHP, which stands for People Helping People.
All right. Well, this has been really informative, and I know that it might be something that you really want to look into. Are there in other cities hyperbaric places?
Yeah, there's probably other locations and stuff that, you know, a lot of chiropractors, a lot of naturopaths, a lot of and MDs and stuff have them in their offices. You know, the key is that we all have to have faith and hope when we're sick and we have illnesses or so. So if there's something that can help our families, then we should have access to it. So as the years are going by, day in and day out, more and more accessibility to the chambers is becoming available.
Yeah, and his clinic is here in North Atlanta. So if you happen to be in the Atlanta area or can drive to Atlanta, come see him. It's a great resource. Bill, thanks for sharing with us, man.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Okay?
Appreciate your kingdom ministry here. Well, take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Let's face it, we all want to make a difference. We want to live for Christ. We want our work to have meaning deep down. We all want to live a larger story to make a difference in the world. But how do we do this? It doesn't just happen. We must invest in our spiritual and professional life that involves spiritual mentoring and training. But where do we go to get that kind of spiritual mentoring and professional training? Is it at church, a conference, a school? The Change Agent Master Mentor Program is the answer to that question, founded by Os Hillman. He is a pioneer in marketplace ministry and has had a 40-year advertising and business career, working with clients like American Express, Steinway Pianos, Thomas Nelson Publishers, and a host of other successful companies. He understands the challenge of living for Christ in a pressure-packed business environment. He created the Change Agent Master Mentor Program to help leaders. Us will help you realize your dream of being successful in your career and having an influence on your world. The Change Agent Master Mentor Program is designed for you to realize your larger story, to understand your purpose, to learn and apply your faith life to your work life from us and other proven workspace leaders who are doing it. Our online course and group mentoring will help you become God's change agent, to be a cultural influencer and succeed in your work-life call, and grow in your relationship with God and with other members of the Change Agent Master Mentor Program. Come join us. Let's influence the world together. www.camastermentor.com